I'm back.
ACT,
Yeah.
I'm about to start.
Okay. About this right now.
Hey, do you? Do what you gotta do, okay? You just have to be prepared to suffer the consequences of whatever those actions are.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I was so surprised at how he was looking at me. I was talking to him. I was like, do you need to say something? Do you need help? Like, use real words. And he didn't. And then so Melanie started rubbing his head. And I was like, do you have hand sanitizer? And she was like, I don't. And I'm like, oh my God, what are we doing? And then
I think she's about to sneak me. So she calls my dad, and my dad comes in. He got this big cowboy hat on and everything. And I know he don't know how to read, so I ain't worried about him at all. So he sits next to me.
now
I don't
we know
think
it
he
wasn't about us.
would use the hammer if he was using his gauntlet for evil. This just doesn't make you pure and worthy enough.
That's your phone, though.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Easy Monday Motivation. It is E, the AOC of Scotch with E, along with CT and Johnny My Liege. And how does everybody be? How y'all doing today, guys?
What's going on, family?
So what's up?
Hey,
Wait a minute.
Miss
listen,
y'all.
hey,
Miss
crazy.
y'all.
Listen, I can't say that I don't feel some type of way when I don't see y'all like once a week. Like I don't. I can't say I can't say that, but I'm going to. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is E, and I have a problem. I'm addicted to the EMM family. I must see them. I must have my motivations on Monday. I must get my inspiration. I must have my counseling sessions that are backstage before we come to every episode. And when I don't have those things, I feel a little out of balance. And I know some of you may feel the same way because you watched the rerun last week, and we did choose that rerun because we wanted to make sure that you understood what an echo chamber was and that you were not caught in one as we moved into May, which is our mental health awareness month. So welcome everybody to May. We have made it because they say April showers bring May flowers, but it's still raining. So for some reason, we're still dealing with April in May.
But it's only May 5th. We're going to give it some time. We're going to give it a little time. But yeah, it is well into May. Like it needs to stop. The rain.
May I have some sunshine. Please, May I have some sunshine.
Yeah.
Listen, I got some sunshine for you. Did y'all know? And I'm throwing this out there for the EMM family. Did y'all know we international, y'all? Y'all know, like, you know, we in 14 different countries. You know, we showing up. That's right. You know, we're building this family, we're building this fan base, we're building this viewership, and we do it by getting those likes, subscribes, and those notification bells turned on. So if you are listening and you have not subscribed and you are liking, but you ain't checking in to get those notifications, go ahead and turn them things on. This way you can get the ding when we are up here doing our thing. That is what I am excited to do. Now, today is a very interesting day, because we're going to dive right in to the conversation. And our conversation today is...
What we talk about?
Well, I think we want to talk about our inner child today. I think we want to know what our inner child has to say to us. There's been this thing that has been revolving in my head for quite some time as I loaded up my topics for this month. One of the things that I really wanted to dive into for Mental Health Month was, how are we dealing with our inner child? And what would your inner child want to say to you? So to open this up, the first thing I want to do is pose a question to you guys. Mm-hmm. And this is going to kind of peel back the rest of the conversation as we talk about this inner child. What is an adult?
I'm still trying to figure it out.
What is an adult?
Other than paying bills, I'm still trying to figure it out.
I mean, but children can pay bills.
Where are these children that pay bills?
I mean, you have teenagers right now that have jobs, live at home with their family, and pay their own cell phone bills or pay bills that they do. They can do that, and they're still not considered adults.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what's an adult? in EMM family, if you in the chat, if you gotta look it up or whatever, I'm really asking the question because I have this identity crisis right now, guys, that I need to work through. What is an adult? What constitutes an adult? In different countries, the age changes. And what we understand to be an adult is supposed to be a full-grown person, right? But even in America, at 18, you're still not fully grown when you're considered an adult. So how did we distinguish what is an adult? Is it age? Is it maturity? Is it responsibility? I have to ask because I need to know. CT, I'm gonna jump to you. What is an adult?
The only thing that's flashed in my head is the last word you just gave. Is that's responsibility. The level of responsibility one has. Like it doesn't mean that when you are in our right, we can only speak from our own lived experiences, and most specifically when we start using this this term, I immediately jump to my children, our children, and at times when they might refer to themselves as adults, and then one might question, how can you be an adult if you're not doing X, Y, Z or ABC? And the X, Y, Z and ABC oftentimes is aligned to, in this world that we live in, if you can get arrested for it, if you have to pay taxes on it, if you like, there is some consequence. So here's how I want to frame it.
Okay.
Like the consequence that is aligned to the thing you have to do, that's adulting. Right. So if I have a job, I have to go to that job. That's adulting. If I have a bank account, I can't spend more money. That doesn't mean that people who are of a certain age don't do this. But if I have $10 in the account and I spend 15 and I'm mad that my account is overdrawn, that's not adulting. Adulting is recognizing that I have $10. I can only spend up to that $10. Like there is a consciousness that comes with what adulting means to me, because not always when somebody of a particular age needs to do a thing, they don't act like, man, I'm struggling with this word. You got me messed up.
I know, because it's
I was interested in talking about inner children.
I know, but we're gonna get there because let me play with you here, because even what you're describing still is just responsibility.
It is,
because it's not, that does not indicate you being an adult. Just because you can execute a responsibility does not mean you're an adult. Because if that was the case, there would be people who are 70 that we would say are not adults, and there'd be people who are 5 that we'd have to call adults.
Okay. Yeah. We got to pull the thread on this one.
Because you know what? I think it probably has more to do with your biological development, if we want to be technical, because I think it could be a combination of all those things that we just talked about, right? As CT put it, adulting, but it's like maturity, responsibility, all of those things. But really, I think if you want to truly define what being an adult is probably how you have developed biologically.
Okay.
Because all those things that we just talked about, like as you said, a kid could do that, could be really fully responsible.
Yeah.
You know, I do know some teens, not mine, that are fully responsible when it comes to their finances. And I know some adults who are not, because money is, as we learned in previous episodes, like money is a skill, right? Like having to manage your finances. So maybe it's more of a biological. Thinking about Ace is not a fully grown dog yet, because biologically he's not. He's not an adult dog. He's still a puppy. So I
like the term. I like that word, Johnny. I like maturity.
So,
I like that as a framing word.
So, and you know, guys, I love you, but I've landed on all of these as well, but they still don't seem to stick, because as children, we can be given responsibility, and our environment will dictate our level of maturity a lot of times in the behaviors that we'll exhibit. So we can be trained to be adults very early, depending on the environment that we're in.
Okay.
So therefore, when we constitute being an adult, your maturity, your behavior, and your biological growth, well, you never stop growing biologically. I mean, that's just kind of how we are until you get to a plateau, and then you start deteriorating biologically, right? Like that's kind of just what it is. I think it's like 30 and your certain muscle fibers just don't work anymore, right? Yeah, right. But then when we think of responsibility, it's just the execution of something in a consistent way. So can that be trained? Yes. Okay. Then that leads me to think personally, guys, and this is just my opinion. You tell me if I'm wrong. I don't actually think the term adult exists. I think it's something that we were told to be more responsible, accountable, and take on agency. But we actually probably had those agencies and had to develop certain faculties through experience and guidance to make us feel that we were capable, or using the term now, adults. Because without those things, you guys just measured your kids based on your criteria of being an adult. But then when we really peel it back, there's no real criteria of being a true adult. Then how do we establish the inner child that had to grow into the adult that we became today? And did we ever have to put that inner child away? Is now my next question to you guys. Because now that we can say that, all right, we're adults because we do X, Y, and Z. Mm-hmm. When did we turn off being the child and sit back in this adulthood and drive in a different way? Johnny, I'll come to you.
Well, I'm thinking also about, and I don't know if I'll describe this right or not, but these are the thoughts that are coming to my mind. Like we have to consider cultural norms as well, right? So, yeah, we can get into the definition and we can talk about maturity, responsibility, and some people and whatever. And the culture in which we live, you do reach adulthood at a certain age, right? Because there are certain expectations placed upon you. I remember having a conversation with my dad where he was like, babe, you grown now. Me and mom ain't always going to be here. You have to start taking care of your responsibilities on your own. And so for me, that's kind of when it was like, oh yeah, wait a minute. I am an adult. It is time now, right? But that was because our culture, maybe it's like society or just our family culture or whatever. It was time to have that conversation. So I think we can't forget about that too, because you're right. You're spot on with what you're talking about. But also we live in this world. We live in a society and there are certain expectations placed upon you when you do hit a certain age. Right?
No, I agree.
Which is crazy too, because CT, you and I have had this conversation. To think that one is an adult when they turn 18 is kind of like ridiculous. However, right?
However,
here we are.
So you bring up something when you were talking about this, that what flashed in my head, and I can't remember the guy's name right now, but the dude who stole Shadur Sanders' phone number from his father's laptop and called him during the draft and pranked him. That's childish. But he's 21 years old. And I heard a lot of commentary that was what he did was childish, but he's a grown man. Right? Because he knows better. And so does the delineation between adulthood and what childish is just when you know better. Like when you know this is something you should not do. And when you know better, do better. If you know that you're not supposed to do that and you do it anyway, that's churlish, right? It's churlish. Like, and maybe that's how we start laying it out. Because there's some, listen, hi, my name is Chris. And behind the scenes, I act childish.
Here we go.
We get on this show. I know I have to be an adult, right? The inner child doesn't disappear, but in certain venues, in certain contexts, in certain places, you understand that there are some responsibilities that come and a level of maturity that has to be there. And I know better because Johnny will get me if I don't act right when we on the regular show. Or Melanie will get me if I'm too bad. But I think that's a part of the tension that we play with in this conversation. At least I'm interested. I'm really interested in where we are in this discussion because now I'm having to do some real self-evaluation.
And you just segued right into where we need to be, because now we're going to start dealing with the fact that I listen. The reason why I think that this is important is because to help everyone transition into a safe space, a lot of times you got to deal with the fact that you never stop being the child that you were, right? That inner child is the joy a lot of times that we keep inside of us. It's the giggle, it's the laugh, it's the person that laughs at, the farts and the other stupid stuff that people do. It's that thing, that child in you still laughs at the stupid stuff that happens. It laughs at the videos that you see on TikTok and Instagram. That inner child is all of the radiant joy that still resides in you when you try to stuff down responsibility on top of it. It hurts and you struggle and you lash out, and that's when you start acting childish. That's when you start acting petty, because you start putting all of this responsibility on this child. And what happens? We act like children. That is what I believe is proof that your inner child is talking to you. Whenever you act childish, whenever you get out of sorts, whenever something triggers in you from when you were little, and as an adult, it is your inner child coming saying like, I don't want to do that. Like, I don't want the peas. I don't want to do this. I'm not about to make my bed. I'm not about to. That is your inner child a lot of times. And I think that people have disassociated the fact that that's really who they are, right? It's like, I think really the truth is like, we're really always those children, but somebody told us that we had to be adults. So we go out in the world and we're like, I guess I got to be an adult. Let me pay my bills. Let me do this. Oh, I got some extra money. You do something crazy with it. You're like, oh, I feel so much better. That was your inner child making you do that thing. That's exactly what it is to me. All right. In my opinion. Now, I would like to hear you guys' opinion on whether or not you actually believe you're actually operating as your inner child, but just adulting when you need to.
Yeah, I once again I have like a million thoughts in my head. So where will I go? Where shall I go? But I'm thinking, EU onto something. One, often the conversation of an inner child, when we talk about inner child, like it's talking about, so it comes from like psychology theories from like the 70s or whatever, right? That Carl Jung believed like that inner child is really the foundation for how we behave, how we show up. Right?
Yes.
Our actions or whatever. But a lot of times when we talk about it, it's like a negative context. But you have me thinking about it in a different way. I don't know what I shouldn't necessarily say negative, but it's all often associated with trauma and all those things, which it still very well can be. But you have me thinking about it in a different perspective too. Like, so the things that I do professionally, right? I've always wanted to do since I was a little girl. Since I was a little girl, like thinking about this conversation, I was thinking like, is my inner child? I'm like, man, she's always there. She's always, everything I do is really based on what she wanted. I have the life that I dreamt of when I was a little girl right now, right? So it's not always a negative thing or an associated with the negative context, but it's also can be very positive as well, right?
That's
like you
what I'm
said,
talking
the joy we see in life, how we can act silly and laugh at the goofiest things or whatever. But yeah, doing the stuff that I do professionally is because I've always wanted to do it since I was a little girl. So I guess she's always there.
See,
what about the weather girl? The inner child, the inner.
She's
inner
here with
weather
you right
girl.
now. Remember that.
She's bringing it to you live.
I remember, Johnny.
Right now, but I'm so mad that you remember that.
We'll never forget that.
I'm happy and mad at the same time. Mary Weathers is her name.
It was on the show, so it's appropriate. Like this is interesting because Johnny, I don't identify in that same way, like that I'm doing the thing that I thought I would do when I was a child. I think the level of responsibility that I carry as a man, as a father, as all of the labels in terms provider, all of those things that show up in the context of my life, it oftentimes limits how much of that child gets to come out, and until I get into an environment or an ecosystem where there's true safety and my child meets your child. Like it reminds me of that the gummy commercial, the little bear commercial, and they're around the boardroom table and the kids are eating little gummies and they're kids, but they're in a professional setting and they're
Yeah,
talking
yeah,
about eating
yeah.
those gummies. And the visual in my mind is like when I'm with people that I'm really comfortable with, and we're not talking about contracts and business. We're not trying to figure out how to psychologically maneuver through the world that is super complex and what's going on. No, it is this carefree wonder. There's a playfulness that comes with it, and we act really silly.
Yeah.
And that, to me, like there is a joy that comes when that um bound up guy, little kid in me gets to
Yeah,
come out.
yeah, yeah,
Stop. Like
yeah, yeah.
I didn't get in trouble when I was my mom might be listening later, but I didn't get in trouble. Well, I did for a little bit, but I'm gonna tell my story the way I remember it. I didn't get in trouble a lot when I was younger. And so because I always did the right thing. That's my story. I'm
Okay.
sticking to it. Maybe somebody else may want to correct it. Melanie, stay out of the comments. You weren't with my
Right,
child,
right, right.
right? So it becomes this really fascinating conversation that says how do we create exposure for that child that's in us to show up more often
Mhm.
and to feel comfortable. And there is the flip side to it, right? When you let that child out in an environment where you thought was safe and wasn't, and now it becomes a punitive environment
Mm-hmm.
where somebody now crushes the child in you,
Mm-hmm.
which then causes the adult in you to have to show back up. And maybe, ooh, this is just a nuanced moment. I'm having a thought. Like maybe the adult is the safety net for the child. Maybe the adult was created to protect the inner child
Now you
so that
see.
in the environments that we go into, I
Yes.
don't know. I'm going to enumerate on that one, and we're going to
Keep
come back
going.
Let
around
it
to it. But
marinate. Let it marinate.
I feel like you put the sauce in there and you just put that in the refrigerator to cook later. But that's good. That's good. Okay, I'm tracking. I'm
Yeah.
tracking.
Now,
Okay.
so yeah, because I've looked at all these TED Talks, I looked at all these things, and you're right, Johnny. There's typically this whole narrative around inner child that forces people to reflect on traumas,
Mhm.
but it never looks at the fact that you progressed in life as this child and learned these things to protect yourself, CT. And I'm glad that you landed there as an adult because of all of the expectations that are placed on you as an adult. So you learned as a child to perform as an adult. And in any space that you're not responsible as an adult, guess where you end up acting like the child in you? As much as you can. That's what people seek. When they're off of work and they're away from things, what do you seek? You seek to be the child that you were, the fun person, the laughs, the jokes, all of the things that you enjoyed that made you live in this free way as a child because you didn't have those responsibilities. We rush back to it. We run to it every single day to get to those moments where we get to be free. But it's not free as much as it's just being the child that you were, who wasn't responsible, who was living their life, who might wanted to watch a TV show, who might wanted to play their game, who might wanted to sit on the patio, who might like to be might like catching fireflies. You're the same child. You just have a different way of expressing those things because you've wrapped yourself in your adult armor to make sure people couldn't get to that child and they couldn't add additional pressure and you could lift the world like CT described, being a responsible parent, adult, and all of these things. You had to build up different muscles. You had to build up different skills to be that thing, this adult. But the kid in you never wanted those things unless you're Johnny and you really wanted to spend your time talking and doing these things and wearing your galoshes outside talking
I
to your
did.
cousin.
I did.
And there's nothing wrong with that because what did she do? She just continued being the child that she was. And she gave that child the life that they wanted and wrapped her life in the adulthood that was the armor and the protection that she needed so she can continue to thrive in the happiness that she was as a child. That's a beautiful thing to identify that your inner child can actually tell you. And that's the reason why I wanted to make sure that we started this conversation. Now I'm going to ask you guys another question.
Okay.
Now that we know that we have an inner child. And now that we know that that inner child is actually probably a very vocal part of our lives, and that we may suppress it, or suppress them in some ways, or we may let them flourish in ways that we probably shouldn't. Is there something you feel like you owe yourself as an adult for your inner child? Is there, and when I ask that question, I think of myself, and I think about like Johnny, you as an example. I know something that I told myself as a child that I would always do is, as I said, I love video games. I always kind of have, right? And I'm like, I'm always gonna have an arcade. No matter where I live in my life, I'm gonna have an arcade.
Okay.
Because I want that. That's one of the greatest memories that I had. And shout out to my family in New York, was when we would go to New York and then we would go up under the laundromat and go play Street Fighters and stuff for quarters. And I played in video game tournaments and all this stuff. And that's how I met a lot of people. So that is something that made me happy as a kid. As a full grown adult, I got probably over 800 something video games. I have a full-fledged arcade at my house that I can do almost anything I want. That is something that I promised my inner child, the young me, that I would have as an adult. So I wanted to use that as an example, but Johnny or CT, either one of you could take it. Is there something that you owe yourself as an adult for your inner child?
That's a great question.
I don't know that I owe myself anything. It is an interesting question, because I don't know that I owe myself.
Or have you done something for yourself as an adult for your inner child? I mean, if you have, then we could talk, because I know I have, but I know a lot of people probably haven't because they didn't think about it.
Like when you said video games, it literally what flashed in my head is there's a video game called Gallagher. Like, to be clear, like I could spend ridiculous amounts of time playing Gallagher. Like I will go over the pins, see if somebody else is on the game, and I will stay at that game. There was one maybe 6-9 months ago or so. Mel just told me to get out, right? And because she knew I needed to just like do something, because I was just busy. And so
getting on our nerves.
I was not getting on anybody's nerves. I was actually
sorry.
She felt like there was
he needed an outlet, baby. He needed an outlet.
I just thought that might have been the issue. Okay.
That's your child coming out, Johnny.
Right, let me mind my own business.
So I ended up going to the bowling alley. I bowled like 2 games. I ended up going to the driving range and hit a bucket of balls. And I went over the pins, had a beer, and played Gallagher for an hour. Like I didn't go to Miss Pac-Man. I didn't go to know it. I just played Gallagher for an hour. And that like, as I'm thinking about this question, it's very rare do I allow myself permission to do something like that by myself, let alone without maybe going to Mel or the kids or calling somebody up. And like that was just me. That's a rare. So I would say maybe that's something I did for myself.
That's good.
That's dope.
Yeah.
And that day sounds lovely.
Yeah.
I love every bit of that. That's awesome.
And CT, it's okay for you to have Gallagher and Sprite.
That's what I was thinking about. It's okay. I was like, oh, he took a moment to have his Sprite all by himself.
Okay. It's okay for you to have Gallagher and Sprite. Apparently the inner child in you misses Gallagher and Sprite.
That's right.
Maybe I'll have some Gallagher and Sprite sometime this week. Let's see what we can figure out.
That's good. That's good.
I love it.
What about you, Johnny?
Let's see here. You know what I owe her? I owe her just taking risk. I was so shy as a kid. So there was just so many things that I didn't do because I was just afraid to do it, and I was shy and just whatever. At home, clearly I wasn't. My family talks about how much I talk and everything. That's where it all came out, as CT was talking about, that safe space, right? But it's so many things that I didn't do because I was just too nervous or too scared, right? As I begin to get older, I stepped out of it a little bit. But I feel like I still owe her all of those things. So like, do it afraid, right? Even when you're afraid, it makes you nervous. You're like, oh my God, what are people going to say? All those thoughts start turning, just like, do it anyway.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do it anyway.
Yeah. She was so afraid of everything. so nervous.
Was she afraid because you're gonna get in trouble? Is you what was that? What's the
I
context?
think it was just insecurities.
Ah,
That's a great question. I think it was just my own insecurities. Being overweight as a kid, being the youngest kid, being the, all of those, all the stories that you tell yourself or
yeah.
whatever happens. And so just was shy and just was really nervous to go out and just try to do some of the things that I wanted to do. Like for instance, playing sports. I didn't play sports because, and I almost tried out for volleyball and I chickened out.
Johnny, you were a competitive talker in Toastmasters.
Yeah, as an adult, and I did win a couple competitions.
See, you made up for it.
I know, and I did become a runner for a while, and I ran a couple races, right? So that's what I mean. Just too afraid, and so I had to wait till I became an adult. Like, screw it, I'm just going to do it anyway.
Yes.
So sometimes when I want to do things, like I think about that.
I think that's interesting. I think that's very interesting that both of you have given yourselves things that your inner child has wanted, but you didn't actually know that you had done that for yourselves.
Yeah.
And do you think, I think it's more common that people don't deal with their inner child. Now, I'm gonna share a secret, and then we can go to a chat. I knew I had a problem with my inner child when I was probably 20. I found that I didn't like myself because of things that I felt that I didn't say and I never released. And I didn't want to continue feeling that way.
Mm-hmm.
So I had this moment where I sat down and I thought about who was really the problem. Was it the people that made me feel that way, or the fact that I may have felt that they were right and I didn't do anything about the things that I felt that way about? And me and my inner child got together because I was, again, at 20, I was already a father. I was in college. I was trying to figure stuff out. I'm out here in the world like struggling, ladies and gentlemen. You already know what this is.
Yep.
And I had to really deal with the fact that I was like, all right, listen, you got a choice. You can grow up or you can age. Everybody gonna tell you to grow up. Everybody gonna tell you to grow up. But you can love who you are, and you can fix and work with the things that you didn't like as a kid and still find those joys and happiness that you had. And you can age like fine wine, like whiskey, like all of the things that gain value because it's appreciated for the original parts of it. And that's what I decided to do. So as I continue to age, I've always gone back and been comfortable being the kid that I was, wrapped in my adult armor. Because I never needed to let go of the kid that I was to be an adult. And I recognized that very early to say, long as you show that you're responsible, long as you show that you're mature, long as you show that you're accountable, people don't care whether you're childish. They really don't. They'll accept your humor, they'll accept your levity and all of those things, unless it's in inappropriate situations. Of course, you need to know when to do that. And again, that's maturity, right? It's not me actually, this is like maturing to be like, oh yeah, I can't say this curse word in front of this person because that'd get me in trouble. Look, you think I didn't run into those walls and had those problems? Yeah, I failed and got in trouble for stupid stuff because that's the agent of chaos that I've always been in my life. But however, I never let go of the kid that enjoyed the fun of life. So that's why now I look back on all of these things and I go, the secret of life is always remaining to be the kid that you were and working on being the better version of the kid that you wanted to be instead of trying to grow old. Because growing old is the inevitable. But aging and refining yourself to be the best version of yourself is something that you can do until you have no more time. So I don't need to grow a lot of times. I need to refine the things that I'm good at, and I need to refine the techniques that I'm learning as I continue to progress in my age. Because I'm not going to go out and become a professional skydiver. That's something that I don't have a thing to do. I'm never going to grow in that way. But there's things that I can refine that I know that I've always loved since I was a kid and continue to do that will just make me happy regardless of whether I go this way or go that way. That's what I kind of believe the Fountain of Youth is based in. And that's what I kind of think that a lot of people lack in their lives, where they can go back and find happiness in themselves because they can go back to that inner child and go,
Yeah. I think there's really something to that whole idea of like just refining who you are as opposed to growing up, I guess. So, as we know, I spent years training in corporate, right? But a
Yeah.
lot of the techniques or strategies I would use, I learned from Terry in his 5th grade classroom. Because he spent time, most of his career has been in elementary. So some of the things that he would do in class, I would do the same thing in my adult classes. And, we had this whole conversation about like adult learning theory and how children and pedagogy and all these things. And he said, man, yeah, that's great. But really what it comes down to is people are people.
mm-hmm.
Whether you're a child or whether you're adult, we all learn the same way. We don't learn any different. Do you know how adults used to act when they used to get stickers on their on their, they used to go crazy and would be so mad if their peer got a sticker and they didn't get a sticker, right? It's because it's just we don't. So I think there's just something to that whole idea of just refining who you are as this human you are, instead of always looking at it as like, I was once a child, now I'm an adult.
I gotta grow up.
Yeah, and I have to grow up. Right?
No, you gotta grow up.
Right. There's something to that.
Yeah. And that's why Never Neverland is exists. And that's why Peter Pan never grew up, because But again, I'm gonna stay away from that. CT, you had something to say? I was gonna think we can go to the chat and read some of these questions.
I'm deeply curious because we oftentimes in this conversation have spiritual nuance, or biblical context, right? That flows into our dialogue, and I'm reminded of the words of Jesus: "When I was a child, I spoke as a child, but when I became a man, I put off childish things." And some of what that's actually Paul in 1 Corinthians. Jesus was the Jesus was the come unto me as if you are a child, right? If you have a request, come to me as if you are a child. What does that mean? There's a level of curiosity that comes with a child. There's this questioning. There's this not knowing. I think oftentimes we are responsible as adults to know something, but children aren't supposed to know something. And so one of the geniuses of this child in us needing to come out is this idea that if we value curiosity, that is our inner child coming to life, not knowing something, even if we don't. One of the tools that I talk about in my coaching, especially for leaders, is that one of the very best things you can give to your team is not to know.
Yeah.
Oftentimes there's this idea that as the leader, I have to know a thing, but the truth of the matter is that your team might know the thing that you know, but if you can empower them to say the thing that you know, it's now their voice being amplified and not yours. And so not knowing is a real gift, I think, it oftentimes. But to the broader context where Paul is telling us, when I was a child, I spoke as a child, but when I became a man, I put off childish things. And that's all in the context of love and how we love. And in the spirit of maturity, when I'm loving you, it is not about me trying to get the thing that I want. It is about me providing access and a place for me to make sure that you can get what you need. Not what I want, but for you to get what you need is the essence of love. And to the extent that when I am a childlike thinker, I am wanting to do something for other people. I can distinctly remember in our home when I was growing up, the spirit of service was amplified significantly. And so whether it was feeding the hungry, whether it was doing something related to church, how love was expressed was by doing something for others. And that childlike mind, I feel like, is lost.
Yeah.
Big time in today's society, where folks are trying to just get what's best for them, what's in it for them, how I can do what I need to do and nobody else. And maybe you get on. I'm a firm believer that when you become a man in this context, it's because you put off the childlike thing, not childish thing. Hear the language. The childish thing is pettiness. the childlike thing is curiosity, love, courage, patience. Like
Yeah.
when I do that well, I do find that the inner me, that joy that comes up, is when I see somebody's face. I went somewhere today. I went to I went to get a pedicure today. I needed to relax, and I found that the particular gift that is inside of me caused this person, Johnny, you get it, you got it, you got it. They just started sharing their whole life with me.
Mhm, mhm,
And
mhm.
by the end of the conversation, this person's child came out and they became emotional. I
Nice.
ain't do nothing special. I just listened. I was just
Just
available.
listened.
And I
Yeah.
found great joy in that.
Mhm.
She found the joy in that moment. And I was just there getting my feet did. Right. And
Yeah,
so I do think
yeah,
that there is something really rich about our ability to come into situations with the level of childlike curiosity.
Yes.
When we do that, we do become the adults in the room
Yeah.
because we bring to life and we amplify who else is there. And that truly becomes the thing that brings out the joy in everybody. So
I love that.
Can we just touch on that really quick? And I know we're going to go to the comments, just about that piece about curiosity
Mhm.
and asking questions and admitting when you don't know. Man, the way I've seen adults act when they don't know, and you can tell when someone is making something up. And in fact, when I became the trainer that I was just talking about, I was taught by some people to, like, never, if you don't know the answer to their question, never say you don't know. And they weren't saying it like frame it a different way, whatever. Just say something. And I'm like, that can't be right. I will never do that. Because people they will eat you alive because they know. Or you know how
Yeah.
folks are. They were like, do you really know? Did you just
You don't
make
know
that up?
nothing. You
And
made
you're
that up.
really looking stupid, right? Yeah.
She capping.
Yeah, it's like I should be making that up. Yeah, so I don't know. I just think that's really interesting because that is something that we lose. We think if we don't know the answer, that we lose all credibility. We're not the leaders in the room, and that's not
Yeah.
true. It's just
True.
not true because people can tell when you're full of crap.
Mhm.
I love, I love that. I love the childlike versus childish.
Mhm.
I definitely think the curiosity is a component of it, and I think that's the thing that keeps us young, of course. And I'm going to keep emphasizing that the closer you are to your inner child, the younger you will always be.
Yeah.
Because you'll always be able to go to those places that bring you joy, and then you can put on your adult stuff to deal with it and be mature when you need to, but then go right back to where you need to be.
Yeah.
So that way you can be balanced and even. Now, I do want to say that CT, I've been in that same position as you, where I was at the getting my feet done, and my lady was crying, but it was not because she was telling me a story.
It's like
So-
when TJ was working on Myra's feet, like, you got to go to work on Myra's feet.
Oh my Georgia, these is feet. He brought these in here. You need to cut them off at the ankle. Start over.
Oh my
Like
gosh,
a
you are
small-
stupid.
Cam, let's go to the questions
It's
that we
your boy,
had in the
Johnny.
chat.
It's your boy, Johnny.
Crying for a different reason.
All right, Mama said, when you get told no when you're asked for something as an adult, does the inner child show up within or on the outside? It depends, Mama. It depends. Some people will externally show their disdain for your choices, and some people will internally hold it in. I'm somebody who probably would show it on my face. Johnny seems like she'd be stoic and be okay.
Stoic can be okay. But you know what? As we're talking about being curious, though, this is another thing that people in general, not everyone, some people can handle being told no, but I think that comes along with a level of maturity as well, since we're talking about all those things.
Yeah.
Being told no and being able to accept that.
Here we go with the Mr. No button. And his cousin, extra no, or is that on? Because like if you turn it around, is it on? I don't know. Play.
CT, is it easy for you to tell people no?
Me?
No, I said CT. I already know your answer. You think I would ask you that question? I know you better than that. And did you see his face when he asked me? He said, "Me?
Me? No,
Have we met?"
you got the wrong person.
I was about to say no to that. No, don't talk.
I have the hardest time saying no, which is why I actually have these buttons. so that they can be a reminder, so I don't actually have to say them, and I forget that they are there sometimes. When clearly there are some things I know I should say no to,
You still
but
say
I don't because because
inner
I'm
child?
trying to make sure that somebody else's child is taken care of.
Mm,
Because if I say no, then to mom's question, I might actually see somebody's child come out.
Hmm.
And then whether they are intending to show that child-esh behavior, not childlike
Like,
behavior, when someone says no, I do think that it is important to this is a deeper dialogue though. It's important to acknowledge and recognize that there are things that you should say no to that you don't. And most of the time when you don't, it's not because you don't know how to say no, but it is because the last time you said no, you didn't like how the person responded. So you have back to the question or statement you made earlier, Johnny, you have a proximate trauma to that no.
yeah.
So you're responding from the situation that you were in, not the
yeah,
one that you need to respond
that's
to in
right.
that moment.
That's right. That's
So
right.
it
That's what I'm thinking about. Yeah, because it could also be a reflection of, I don't know, being a people pleaser, right?
Yeah.
yeah,
Maybe that's who you were, not necessarily you, but anyone.
yeah,
Um, and wanting to make someone else happy
yeah.
when really it's just an inconvenience for you or whatever. That's deep.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
used to not be able to say no, and then I got so good at it that I say it so much that like people don't ask me for anything because they already know the answer is there we go. Don't even need to say it anymore. Everybody heard it without me saying it. You all heard it. You heard it out your ears without my mouth saying it.
Felt it
That's
in my
how
soul.
that's how important it is that you work on the
No.
CT. I just want you to know you so bad you need 2 guys to help you say no. I'm so good
telling you.
that I don't even have to say like I don't even gotta say it. I'm the
You're on-
Pootie Tang. I'm the Pootie Tang of that thing. Okay. I got a whole song. No words at all.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, Mark, Kev, take me to the next question, brother. As adults, do we pout? Yes, mama.
Pout.
Yes, we all
Definitely
pout. I mean, yeah, we pout. I mean, we pout as adults. I don't think we stop pouting and acting angry. As anything. We do that forever.
I saw an adult have a full temper tantrum last
Yeah.
week at work, and I was like,
Did you?
"Wowzers!"
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I heard about that too. I heard about a full-fledged temper tantrum with tempered glass breaking. And I'm just playing. We're gonna keep moving.
I was like, I didn't hear all of this.
Oh, I heard about that.
Oh, I heard that.
Yeah,
I heard that.
it goes down.
I heard
People are not adults at all times. Okay.
No.
that
Not
wasn't a pout.
adulting.
That was angry.
Yeah.
Because somebody was angry, they started pouting. Like
Yeah.
it may have started as anger, but then your childishness comes out.
Oh my god.
Like,
All right, let's go to the next one.
mm,
All right. I owe myself a lot of fun and not being afraid of things. I was very shy and afraid to do things, talking in front of people, and afraid to disappoint my parents and grandparents because I was the oldest. Well, guess what, sis? You ain't got to worry about disappoint them all now, sis. You can go hard now.
That's what I
Go
told her
hard.
4 weeks ago. I was like, "Girl, if folks ain't got it now, then that's on us. You
Hey,
go
listen.
have your fun. You ain't got to say no
Hey,
excuses
next
more."
time you in Columbus, come see E because we can disappoint
no.
the world together. Okay, I'm with you.
No. See, even
Yes.
CC saying no, Alicia.
Why?
Hold on.
Not
Get it
hey,
back
come
up.
see me, sis.
It's no. Did we say
No.
What?
no?
Turn it around the right way. It's
Her-
backwards. You
yeah,
gotta
he
put
got
the
it
right way.
on. He got it on. I told you he had it on.
Yes.
It's no to me. It's just no.
No.
He had it on.
It's not
I
on.
needed to turn it over because if it's on, it's not on. We're trying to
Not
say
on.
no.
All right, sis, it's on. He said it's on. You saw the button. Just hit me up when you in town. We about to go paint the town red. We about to go do this thing. It's about to be hot out here. I'm your wingman. Whatever fun you want to have, we gonna have. All right, what's the next chat?
But hold on, there's something
is
in there
true.
though.
That is
But there's
true.
something in there though, right? There's something in there in the sense
Uh-huh.
that when we were children, the audience we wanted to please, the audience we wanted to get approval from was typically our parents, our grandparents, right?
Yeah.
And if we didn't, then it does potentially hinder how we make choices today.
Yeah.
Because if that was the framework for how we learned, and it was the framework for how we were validated, unless we pause that learning cycle, we could still be in a position where we're looking for validation in that exact same way. And it doesn't have to be parents or grandparents. It could be a boss. It could be a friend. It could be a spouse that I'm looking for validation through that person saying I did a good job, or that my child came out and they're like, yes, you can be that way. Or if they say, don't do that, you're embarrassing me. Don't go there because that's a problem in that environment. It now squashes that inner child that you have. And now you're fighting with your own self for an identity, for validation, for the very best way to be the child that you really want to be. So I think there's something nuanced in that, in the statement that Sis made, is that there was a learning cycle that we had when we were younger, that we were looking for something from an audience that we were wanting to please. And unless we pause that and change how we look for validation, we could still be in that same cycle. I thought there was something more nuanced.
Those same behaviors, like the same behaviors, it just stays there. It doesn't change, right? Yeah.
That's dope. Absolutely. I love that. All right, what we got next?
I think that's it. Oh,
a lot of times the conversation in our head settles the whole situation and you physically do nothing. That's true, Mom. And you know what? Mom, I agree with that, because that is one of my self-regulation tactics. Instantly becomes, is this a you thing? Is it the me thing? Like, you know, like, did you intentionally do it? Can I put myself in your shoes, be empathetic, sympathetic, and use my emotional intelligence to understand all of the variables that got you to the point to where this happened before I blame? Before I blame. Because if I haven't done that work before I blame, then there's a lot of times that, you know how the finger thing works. It's all of these, you point one, but all of these pointing back at you because you didn't actually do the due diligence. So no, I definitely agree with that you do have to sometimes settle yourself, deal with all of these things internally before you actually act. And that allows for you to have a lot more clarity in those movements. Okay. All right. Now, listen, we've been on fire. This has been fun. Now, I do want to kick into our, pretty lies and ugly truths. Cam, can we do that, man? Okay, I can't help it. Yeah, I'll be dancing in the background, y'all. I can't help myself. It's just fun.
I do too.
I do. Like, that's my jam when that come on. Like, I really feel like we got a game show, but one day. So everybody, welcome to the Pretty Lies and the Ugly Truths. This is the segment where we peel back some of those things that have been a little bit altered in our mind, just to make us feel a little bit favorable to us. So today we have a video that I want to play for you guys, and I want to talk to you on the other end of this, but I'm gonna preface it by saying, do you guys remember when it used to matter when we talked to each other? Do you guys remember when you cared so much because you would wait until after 7 to call somebody, or weekends? Because the only people you call during the day would be people who you are willing to pay to talk to. Cam, can you run that video?
Oh boy.
Somebody just said that people used to pay per minute they used to talk on the phone. Is that true?
I remember the days of paying for your minutes. You didn't just use your phone all willy-nilly. No, sir. We paid for our minutes, each and every one of them. $30 got you 300 minutes if you were lucky. That's only 10 a day. You learned real quick what to say, what was important and what could wait. No chit-chat, no small talk. You called, said what you had to say, and got off before it was too late, before it would cost you. And it would cost you dearly. But then came a miracle, and they called it unlimited nights and weekends. And boy, let me tell you what, when that clock hit 9 p.m. on a weekday, or even better yet on a Friday, oh, that's when the real conversation started. Folks planning their whole lives around it. You'd hear, I'll catch you after 9. I'll call you after 9. More than you heard, I love you. All business new and old happened after 9. We'd sit there in the dark, whispering on flip phones, making plans, catching up, falling in love. Weekends, that was a social hour. But weekdays before 9, silence. Phones stayed in our pockets like it owed us money. It was a different world, one where talk was precious and time was expensive. Makes you appreciate things, you know. Now folks talk all day streaming, scrolling, don't even realize what a gift it is. But we remember. We remember the lonely days and when they turned into unlimited nights.
We remember. We remember.
Now, for those out there that didn't see or are not familiar with this, there used to be a time that in order to text somebody or to talk to somebody, it would cost you coins every second. And during that time, there was a greater appreciation for communication. I'll just say that when your mom and somebody said your grandma on the phone, everybody ran to the phone because they knew they had a limited time to say hello when they got grandma on the phone, because grandma was not going to call you any other time. You're going to talk to her right now because granny only call you at this time because cousin such and such is over there and he got X amount of minutes and he can make that phone call. It used to be limited in the way we interacted with each other because of the fact that we had to pay for those interactions. But today, it's free and unlimited to some people. And now people don't reach out to people most of the time at all. Is that not insane?
Oh, it's insane. It's insane because when my phone rings now, I'm like, oh God, who's calling me? Who could, if it ain't my parents or my sister, what could they possibly want? Who could possibly be calling me right now? It's like, yeah, it's this huge inconvenience. Man, the way I used to when I first started paying my cell phone bill myself, the way I used to get in trouble trying to talk to my sister during the day, I would have to I gotta wait till after, and then it kind of moved up to like 7.
Yeah.
Yes, and I was like, I gotta wait till after 7 to call you. My phone would get cut off because I was spending too much time during the day talking to my sister. My bill was running up.
See, T, I know back in the day when you was saying out there balling, trying to make sure you was impressing Mel with your text messages and phone calls. You probably rang your bill up a few times trying to impress her too, didn't you?
I don't remember this season of life.
You don't.
No, it's complete blank. It's blocked out for whatever reason. This is my pretty lie. Like, I don't remember this season at all. I didn't have it because there wasn't no calling because I didn't have no cell phone. Like, nah, I didn't. Technology stuff I was slow with because everybody I needed to reach whenever I needed to reach them was reachable.
Yeah.
Okay.
It wasn't something that I invested in. And I do remember buying my first cell phone. It was a flip phone. Yes, it had minutes on it. And I was traveling at the time and I lost it or I dropped it or something. I was like, this is not even it. Like, that's wasted money. So it's like, why am I wasting money on something I could lose? So what are we doing here? If I need you, I'm gonna find you. If I didn't need it. And now it's just so irresponsible. Like, now I feel some level of guilt. The ugly truth is that I see some calls come in. They'd be like, when you evaluate how much time that's getting ready to be, there's some people that call and you be like, this is about to be 20 minutes. I ain't got 20. So,
I ain't got 20.
And if you know better, you'll text me. Because if you text me, that is the best modern invention. I apologize. I'm just telling on myself.
Me too.
Like, if you text, I can almost 110% guarantee I'm gonna get back with you. If you call, there's a guy, literally, there's a guy. Shout out to you, my man. You know who you are. I'm not gonna say your name, but he's been trying to reach me forever. Like, and every time he tries to call me, he missed me. Sad Sunday, he called. I was like, nope, stop what you're doing. Picked up the phone. It was great talking to him. But every time he calls, I'm in the middle of something. And it'll just be in the blue. I'm in the middle of something. I'm like, I want to talk. I can't talk. And I don't actually pick up the phone. But if you text me, I'll text you back. And for whatever reason, this ugly truth in me is that I have more time to text than I do to talk.
Yeah.
And one is faster.
It is. And I'm not trying to be offensive.
I know.
Honest answers only here, right?
Yeah.
I'm attempting to communicate in the mode or medium that is most efficient based upon the time that I have right now. And yet, I used to pay. for
Yeah, we
how
used
much time we could or couldn't. Oh, how we have evolved.
Oh, how we have.
Oh, you're killing me. You're killing
This
me,
is
Smalls.
this one was fun for me because the complexity of the fact that we had worked so hard to communicate and struggled to do so to the point to again we was paying for what Faith say 10 cents per text and we had X amount per minute and then you had to wait till 7 in the weekends. Then like, hey, listen, I'm going to tell this story about I got grandfathered in, y'all. I got grandfathered into like the greatest cell phone package ever, right? Where early in my cell phone days, I had unlimited phone calls, text messages, and everything. Early. And I had you remember them old, I had a Sprint flip phone, it was lavender, everything. Had this beautiful phone, this pearl, all this stuff. I'm rocking around with the little screen on the back. I'm thinking I'm fly.
That's right.
But and I was because I had unlimited everything. And people were so jealous of the fact that I'd be sitting there like, they'd be like, man, you've been on the phone for a while. I'm like, yeah, why? What's the problem? Like, you got unlimited minutes? Like, yeah, you got unlimited. It was amazing to have unlimited minutes, and I had it set up. Now, fast forward, I had this deal that I had set up, and I got married, and while I was married, my wife gave me a gift. My ex-wife gave me a gift. Ladies and gentlemen, my gift was a cell phone. And within that cell phone was a different contract. And it was the first time in my life that I had minutes. I was restricted to minutes and data. I was so done. I was so done that I was listen. That was a divorceable offense in that moment. It was. I literally looked at her and I was like, "This is a divorceable offense. You have now undone all of the work that I had done my whole life to never see minutes, and now I have 1,500 to split amongst 4 phones."
Oh no! Oh yeah, that's
right. Because at that point, it was just me having that plan. Now I got to split it with my kids and all. I had unlimited by myself. Y'all had unlimited with me. You went and changed the contract to now we got to split 1,500 amongst 4 people.
Correct.
That's not math. That's cell phone death, and that's really where it happened. So I just want y'all to know I did flush that cell phone down the toilet. I tried to go back and get my original contract. They told me that didn't exist anymore. That that the fact that it got changed is the only reason why that I'll never be able to have my unlimited stuff. So, ladies and gentlemen, hold on to the good things in life. That being your inner child as well. We just want y'all to know.
Like talking on the phone now? What do you do? Do you like talking on the phone now?
I mean, sometimes. Like it depends, right? I like talking on the phone when I'm talking to somebody and we can have a good conversation and they actually like interacting and we get good dialogue. But I don't like talking where people just listen. And then I do get people who be like, I don't even know what that word means. I'm like, I'm sorry. So sometimes I can't talk to certain people because I just be like, I say something, they be like, what?
Ask.
Well, but I mean, you ask, I'm being honest. Like there be times when I be on the phone with people and I say something and I'm like, you're really smart. I'm like, is this a did you just find that out? I'm gonna call you back. CT, they become those people. I never answer the phone.
Hold on.
I'll right back.
Let me see if I can get it right this time.
It's on. It's on again. Okay. But no, thank you guys. I definitely wanted to pull that up just to have some fun with the fact that we used to care so much more about communication because we had to pay for it. Now we have it available to us and we'd be looking at it like, I'll call them later. Like, doesn't cost you anything. You could just say hello, or you can be honest and be like, I don't like you, but you like, nah, I'm just gonna go ahead and let this ring. So.
I know. My one friend will leave, then she'll call and then send me a text message like, I know you see me calling and I know you are screening your phone calls. Pick up the phone. And I'm like, you know, I don't like talking on the phone. So no,
You text back.
I'm not.
I can't. You know what, Johnny? I don't have the gravitas to do the things that you do because again, you are Johnny my liege, and we bow to you. All
We
right,
need
so
a sound for that every time we say Johnny
my liege.
hours like my liege.
My
Like,
liege, yeah. Oh, you know, hey, we gotta. You know, the whole thing is I gotta find that thing in Coming to America when they like my liege. We gotta find my liege, my lord. We're gonna get that together for you. So no, this has been a wonderful conversation, y'all. I definitely want to go into our final thoughts around our inner child that wants to talk to us. So I want our final thoughts to come from our inner child, guy. I want to see if we can pull that off today, guys. CT, do you think your inner child could leave us with some final words? Let's think about that gummy bear CEO table that you sitting around with the homies, and we're all in that safe space. What's something that you would want to let everybody know?
Your inner child is the version of you who remembers what it felt like to just be really carefree and would run outside, find your friends, get on your bicycle, find your friends, and you would play tag football in the street. Or the one that didn't have any responsibilities. Good God almighty. It didn't have to worry about paying bills, that wasn't like could get mad at your friend and then y'all instantly be okay again. Like just like that, y'all could be fighting. And then the next thing's like, you all right? I'm all right. Yeah, okay. Let's just go do what we do. The speed of recovery was so much faster. And I'm slowing down because I'm trying to be thoughtful about this response. Where in many ways, because of the structure that I was in, there was safety, there was love. And I got to choose some stuff that was what I wanted to do. That inner child, my high school inner child, I did everything. I was in student government. I was in plays. I was a euchre champion. I was an all-state football player. Like I did everything. And yet the adult is not allowed to do everything.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's a good reminder to maybe go back in your attic, pull out that box that has some memories and pictures and awards, and reminisce. Don't stay there. Just reminisce, and then maybe go do something childlike to see what that does for you.
That's good. Use it as motivation.
I love that. All right, CT. All right. Oh well, young CT. Thank you. Young Johnny, what would your inner child like to leave everybody with as a final thought? Or should I say Merryweather's?
Merryweather's always got the news, always got the scoop for us. What would she say? Well, one, I think that she would say to me is that, like, girl, look at what you've done. You are accomplishing the things that you always wanted to do, and you should be so proud of yourself. So don't be afraid to take risks. So maybe that's something that she would kind of say is like, don't be afraid to take risks. Don't be afraid to do the things. But then also too, so CT kind of approached it from this side of like being carefree, tapping into that inner child, like leaning into it a little bit more. I would also say, like, let's heal that inner child. Like, let's do the work, y'all. We got to do the work. I think there's a lot of patterns, to your point, CT, that you were talking about. There's a lot of patterns and behaviors that have been on this repeat cycle in our lives, and it probably started way back when. So maybe this conversation is offering up a little motivation to, like, let me do some reminiscing. Let me think back to where all these things come from and finally be healed from it.
That's good.
Right? Like you told us, like, let's be healed and happy. Like, let's do it, y'all. But
Healed and
whole,
happy. Yeah.
whole, healed, and happy. There we
Yeah.
go. There we go. Like, let's do it. But you might have to tap into that a little bit too. So let's do the work.
I love that.
Mhm.
I love that. All right. So for my final thoughts, I'm gonna go ahead and give out some more of the uncomfortable part, and then we'll get to how my inner child dealt with this. So we had a guest on who spoke to us about the ACEs test. And the ACEs test is the test that kind of measures your experience as a child with traumas and the traumas you may have experienced. And the way this test kind of works, the way that it's written, and you can be offended behind it because it says the more points that you have on it, the more likely you will have a rough life or difficulty as you get older. There are 10 questions on this test. And the way that you get points is by being able to answer yes to one of the questions, and the no gives you, 0. On average, most people range between 3 and 5. And that just tells you that most people who have grown up have experienced some levels of trauma as kids. I can be honest and say I am 8 out of 10. I know that because I've taken the test. I've seen the things that caused me to feel the way that I felt as a kid. And I've had to work through those things to understand what triggered those things and help understand what triggered those things in other people that I had to witness, or understand why people treated me the way they treated me. And that was the adult in me that had to go back and look at little Eric and go, I still see that bruise on your arm from when you got hit that you never let heal. I still see that cut on your lip from when you got punched that you never let heal. I see that burn on your arm from that thing. And I see the pillow. I see the feathers in your hair from the time that you got ruffled up. And I see the disheveled shirt that you're still wearing because you didn't get properly dressed a few times because people were rushing and they didn't care for you. I can still see the things in you, little E, that hurt you, that got you those 8 points. And I know that you need to talk about them. So little E wants to tell everybody, hello, I'm okay. It's okay to talk about it, to grow up, to grow out of the things that may have hurt you, affected you, and held you back. Because if you don't, that same little hurt person is going to be out here hurting people as an adult.
Mm-hmm.
So
come on.
Heal. The way you heal is by being whole, healing, and then you can be happy. So, all right. I didn't want to leave on a hard note, but I did want to make sure that I gave that truth, because that's the inner child that I had to work through to be a happy person today, that can be joyful, that can pass motivation, to do all these things. I had to heal from it. My inner child wanted to talk to me, and I had to listen to him so that we could have this type of conversation. Thank you all for bringing your inner child to today's conversation and making it a wonderful conversation. Shout out to all of the family that support us across the country, across the nation, as we said, across the world, as we move into this international space. And let me go ahead and cut you guys. Ladies, yes, it was lavender. Stop hating. Women like nice colors, okay?
Yes,
Mind your manners. You saw that lavender phone. I flipped out and handed it over to a lady to give the phone number. They'd be like, "Ooh, that's cute." That's right. Put your number in there because you cute too. Let's go. Yeah, dog.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
That's the way we did that. Okay. All right. So no.
Get me on the court and I'm trouble.
So again, thank you all. We love you. Make sure that you like, subscribe, turn on the notification bells. Make sure that you're giving us those proper feedbacks. If you're downloading on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, if you're listening on YouTube or anywhere, keep showing the love. We definitely appreciate you guys, and tap into your inner child. Have this conversation. We look forward to seeing you next week, where we get to celebrate mothers. I know the guys are feeling some type of way, but we're going to celebrate mothers next week for Mother's Day. So shout out to everybody. Enjoy yourself. Have a good night. And you can just chill until the next episode. Peace.
Peace.
All right, guys. That was